So let's get this. All right, recording is in progress. So here we go. We're going to talk about powerlifting. Like I said, beyond excited and beyond thrilled to talk about this. If y'all have any questions about this, please absolutely feel free to reach out to me, whether it is in a message, leave a comment on this video. I don't even care. Call me. I don't know if you have my phone, whatever. I'm always more than happy to answer questions about powerlifting. Anytime, any place, anywhere. I'm always happy to answer those questions. So please don't be shy. Ask away. If you are watching this live, which it does look like a few of you are, then I would absolutely love if you could give me a like or a heart on this video. Just comment and say, hey. Anything like that, just to get some engagement on this video so that it pops up on the feeds of more people. I always appreciate that. So let's get to it. I want to start with just a very straightforward explanation of what is powerlifting. So powerlifting is a sport where you perform, oh my goodness, powerlifting is a sport where you perform the barbell back squat, the barbell bench press, and the barbell deadlift. The barbell deadlift can be done either sumo deadlift or a conventional deadlift. It doesn't matter. That's personal preference. Both of them are acceptable. And so anybody can train their body doing back squats, deadlifts, and bench press. In fact, I highly encourage anybody to train their body using squat, bench, and deadlift with the barbell, if able, if not with dumbbells. Because those are great functional movements for anybody, whether you want to be a competitor or not. And when they are performed correctly, they will strengthen your bones, your tendons, your ligaments, so as to avoid injury from things like falls or accidents or whatnot that might happen down the line. So these are exercises that I encourage for everyone, not just people who want to be powerlifters. So you might be wondering, if anyone can do the squat, the bench, and the deadlift, what makes one person a powerlifter and another person not a powerlifter? So what makes a person a powerlifter is their purpose for training. Like I mentioned a minute ago, you might do the barbell squat, the barbell bench press, and the barbell deadlift for just for health, whether it's for weight loss, whether it's just to build muscle strength, functional movements to protect your body in accidents. But the purpose in a powerlifter's training is purely for optimal strength. It's not necessarily, of course, through this, we will end up building muscle and all of these other things, but the purpose of a powerlifter's training is purely for optimal strength. So that person would be a powerlifter. So what makes you a powerlifter is not, have I ever competed or anything like that. I always see questions get asked all the time is, when do I officially get to say I'm a powerlifter? When you start training with the specific intent to be as strong as you can in those 3 lifts, you are a powerlifter, whether you've stepped on a competition platform or not. Powerlifters will train specifically to be able to lift the heaviest weight that their body can handle in those 3 lifts for only 1 rep. So that's called your 1 rep max. So in a meet, you're going to get 3 attempts at each of those lifts. So you'll get to do the squat 3 times, bench press 3 times, and the deadlift 3 times. And the goal is to lift as much as you can in one of those attempts as possible. So basically you'll go 1 time, and you'll be in a group. They call it a flight is the group. And it's usually a flight. It has to be between 8 and 15 people. And so you will do it once. So you'll go up, you'll squat once, and then you'll essentially get to the back of the line. And then all of the other people in your flight will go while you rest. Then you'll get to go up and do it again. So you don't do them like right one after another. Your highest weight that you lift in each of those 3 lifts is what counts to form your total. So they combine all 3 of those together and they make your total. So you'll basically end up at the end of a meet with 4 numbers: your highest squat, your highest bench press, your highest deadlift, and your total. And so I want to be very clear when I talk about intent and purpose for training. When we are attempting 1 rep maxes, that is something that you need to train for. I do not recommend that you just show up at the gym and just suddenly try to test your 1 rep max, especially if you're doing What's common for women, for muscle growth in women, the rep range for most exercises, not all, but most, is 8 to 15. And so if you're someone who's doing like 10 reps consistently of one of these lifts, don't show up tomorrow and try to do 1 rep. You want to basically train your body to do heavy weights with low reps. So what you would want to do is lower your reps a little bit. So you might want to go, okay, for the next month, I'm going to go for 5 to 6 reps. And then for another month, you might want to go for 3 reps. And so as heavy as you can for 5 or 6 reps, as heavy as you can for 3 reps, then your body will be about ready for 1 rep max. Our central nervous system plays a really big part in powerlifting, in allowing us to actually be prepared for things like a 1 rep max, and you have to train your body for that. So please don't be like, yes, I'm going to be a powerlifter and show up tomorrow and try to do 1 rep max. If you get hurt, don't blame me. So as you're increasing the weight and lowering your reps, like I said, keep a really close eye on your form and your technique as the weight increases to make sure that you stay safe. If you notice that you're getting to a point where your form is kind of breaking down and it's not feeling good or it's not looking good, record yourself, record your sets all the time. I don't care what people in the gym think, record them, go back and look at them. And you can learn a ton about what you're doing. You'll notice things that you don't even know that you're doing once you see it in video, and you can fix it. So record it. And when you see your form starting to break down, don't go any higher. Even if you feel like you can still lift the weight, you always want to stay with a weight that's going to allow you good form, to stay safe, and then you can continue to progress to higher weights. Pushing yourself into higher weights with bad form might cause an injury, which is going to derail you even longer. So form is always first. So a question I get asked a lot is, what is the minimum weight that you need to lift in a meet? And that minimum weight is quite literally the bar. And in most cases, the bar is 45 pounds. Sometimes in many meets, a meet director will have a 55-pound squat bar. So 45 or 55 pounds is it. You do not need to have real big, huge numbers to compete. Powerlifting is very much a you versus you sport. So just show up, try to beat whatever your own personal best is, and have fun. There's a lot of intangibles in a powerlifting meet. Nerves, there's going to be judges there watching you. There's going to be an audience watching you. Pushing outside of your comfort zone just to step on that platform to begin with is an absolutely huge win from the get-go. You don't need to stress out about numbers. Go to your first meet, do whatever you feel comfortable doing, and learn. Pay attention and learn. Once you've learned and you're comfortable with it, go back to the gym, train to be an even bigger badass, show up and do it again and kill it, okay? So please don't avoid competing just because you feel like you don't lift enough. There is no such thing as I don't lift enough, okay? Anybody can do this. So now I want to talk about how a meet is structured. So in a meet, all the athletes are divided up by sex. So you have male, female, and then whether they're then further divided by weight class. So weight classes are broken up by roughly, it's like 10 to 15 pounds for women in like 10 to 15 pound chunks. And then for men, it's usually about 20-ish pound chunks. It varies a little bit depending on how high or low the weight is we're talking. So what this means though, is if you're a small person like me, you're not worrying about competing against much larger people who kind of by default are going to end up being stronger. So they try to even the playing field as much as possible. So a small person like me is competing against other small people like me, and so on. Most people compete. Oh, and sorry, I got ahead of myself. After weight class, the athletes are then further divided up by equipment. And so most people compete in what is called raw, where they don't wear any special gear except maybe knee sleeves. So like compression knee sleeves that you pull up, and maybe wrist straps around your wrist. That's fine for raw, and that's what most people do. The next most common category is called classic raw. And classic raw is a lot like regular raw, except instead of the compression knee sleeves that pull up, we wear knee wraps that wrap around really, 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 really tightly around your knees, and they act almost like a spring in a squat. Other than that, it's exactly the same as raw. And then after that, there are categories that are more equipped, where you have like compression suits and shirts, but that category is well beyond the scope of today's training. So I'm not even going to go there because that's very advanced stuff. So I feel like I'm talking really fast. If you have any questions about any of this, go ahead and put this in the comments. And remember to say, hey, if you're watching, give me a heart or a like on this video, or whatever. I would appreciate any engagement we can get on this video. So how is powerlifting different from regular strength training? So powerlifting is not focused on your body like bodybuilding is. Its training is focused on improving your strength with each of those three lifts, the squat, the bench, and the deadlift. So what I mean by that is you might be familiar with, people might say, oh, I have back day today, or leg day, or chest day. For powerlifters, we don't really have that. We have lift specific days. So we have bench day or squat day or deadlift day. And so all of the exercises that we do are specifically chosen to improve our strength at that one lift. Remember, our goal is optimal strength. In powerlifting, we don't necessarily focus so much on the aesthetic of what our body looks like. However, generally by default of powerlifting and growing muscle, you do see changes in your body, of course. It's just like in bodybuilding, they tend to get very specific, and I'm going to work this itty bitty tiny muscle just right to make it look however I want it to look on stage or whatever. We don't do that in powerlifting. And so, for example, when I say, rather than saying chest day, where a lot of people will do bench press on chest day, if you're a power lifter, your bench press day might include work on your lats, these muscles along the long muscle down the side of your back. It will include a lot of work on your triceps, because both your lats and your triceps are really important to your bench press. It's not just your chest. All three, squat, bench, and deadlift, are full body lifts. So we work our full body on those days. There are accessory exercises, like I said, the ones that'll work your triceps or your lats. And these can be done with, sometimes with the barbell, sometimes with dumbbells, most often usually with dumbbells. And even some machines can be done to do those accessory lifts. However, the main three lifts that you do in competition, the squat, the bench, and the deadlift, those must be done on a barbell. There's just no other substitute to train the exact technique that you would be doing in a competition without a barbell. So machines and dumbbells and things are awesome for all of our other accessory movements that help us get stronger with that barbell lift. But to do the actual lift itself, it needs to be done on a barbell. And then how you do these things just really depends on your specific needs. When I coach my athletes, I look at like, where is their sticking point in certain parts of each of the lifts. So an example might be, trying to think, like for a deadlift, if I have an athlete that is struggling to lift the deadlift bar and they're struggling to lock out and stand up completely, I'll give them an exercise we call block pulls, where it works just that top part of that deadlift over and over and over so that they get stronger in that spot. So what accessory lifts that you do and what muscles you specifically focus on, like I said, triceps or lats or whatever, is going to be very individual and dependent on you and where your deficits are and what things can be improved. Typically with powerlifting, we train 4 days a week, and that can vary person to person and even coach to coach, depending on who's doing your programming. And then just what are your specific goals for that cycle? We do training cycles. We don't do the same thing all along. So like, for example, right now I competed back in November, and after my meet in November, all of my training right now is focused on higher volume. So I'm doing more reps right now in most things, because I'm working on building more muscle and training for technique and getting my technique refined and improving some of my deficit skills. And then eventually I'll cycle out of that and I'll go into a cycle where most of my lifts are like high weight and only 1 or 2 reps. So your training should always cycle and fix whatever areas need fixed on your lifts. So I bet that a lot of this is overwhelming and maybe confusing, especially to someone that is just starting out. So I always highly recommend a coach. I have been to meets many, many times where I see women in particular who don't have a coach, but they've had their boyfriends coach them. And oftentimes it does not go well. A boyfriend is not a replacement for a coach. There are very specific things that need trained in a meet. There's commands and things that judges will give you that you want to practice. I'm going to get more into those things in next week's part 2 of powerlifting. I called it What Happens at a Meet. So I'll get more into the judges and things then. But a lot of times when the boyfriends are coaching, they don't train for exactly what a judge is going to see, and it sometimes doesn't go so well. If you don't get at least one of your attempts on each lift, so say you go up to squat and all three of them, you don't get them, like maybe you don't go low enough, or maybe your feet move, there's all these different things that I'll talk about next week. You do end up disqualified from the meet. They will usually let you stay and finish, but your numbers don't count like on official record. So a really big part of a coach's job is helping you select the right weights and the right numbers so that you continue through the meet, but you also at the same time are pushed into getting like higher numbers in some of your personal bests. So a coach is incredibly important. If you are brand new to this type of lifting, like these types of barbell lifts, I always recommend hiring an in-person coach at a local gym near you, wherever that might be. Someone who's in person can watch you right on the spot with your lifts. They can make adjustments on the spot and help keep you safe. If you're comfortable doing barbell back squats, barbell deadlift, and barbell bench press, then you could hire an online coach. And so for me personally, I don't usually coach women who are brand new to powerlifting online. I want to be hands-on with them and see them in person to make sure they're safe. I'm just not personally comfortable having someone brand new to these lifts doing that without me there. And what we usually do is like they'll send me videos and whatnot. So it's always advice after the fact. So if you're experienced with these things and all we're doing is making tweaks and making improvements, then online is a great option for you. And I do coach women's powerlifting here in Nashville at my gym. So if you're local and you're interested, let me know. I'd love to get you in. If you are experienced and not in Nashville, like I said, I do online powerlifting coaching. So I'm happy to chat with you if you'd like. So always feel free to reach out with any questions. So be sure to join me next week. Next week, we're going to talk about everything that happens on meet day. I'm going to cover all the things that an athlete needs to know. I'm going to cover what are judges looking for. I am a judge too. I'm a certified referee for the USPA, so I can give you lots of insight on judges, what kind of things you should bring with you to the meet. And then, yeah, and I'm happy to, like I said, I will answer any questions you've got. So please leave me some comments. Say hey, send me a message, whatever. There's almost never a time where I don't want to talk about powerlifting. So please feel free to reach out with anything you've got. If I said anything today that triggered another question for you, post that down in the comments. And either I'll get back to you right in the comments, or I'll make sure I include it in next week's live where we continue talking about powerlifting. So I love that so many of you are interested in this. This just makes my badass strong woman heart happy. And I hope that you come back next week, and I hope that you do reach out with any questions. I love encouraging women of all ages, of all sizes, of all abilities to try to compete in powerlifting and push yourself out of your comfort zone. It's a pretty rad experience once you do it. I think you'll be hooked. So that's it. Don't forget to drink your water. Don't forget to eat your protein, and go be adventurous and try something new this week. I will catch y'all later.